Greetings, folks. Welcome to another one of our Free Friday community classes right here on the YouTube. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so you'll get a little ding every time a new class gets released. This week, I am super excited to be talking about a topic folks ask me about all the time. It is important, it is interesting, it's really fun to talk about. The topic is, of course, herb magic. And we're going to cover a variety of different angles in this sort of introduction or essentials of herb magic. What I really want to cover in this particular class is, first and foremost, what is herb magic? Second, how does it work the way that I practice it? Third, we're going to talk about why I prefer the term sorcerer over many other terms like witch and magician. Fourth, we're going to talk about applications and potentials in working with herb magic. And then we're going to talk about something that I'm not sure we've covered in other classes before, which is how you can learn to do herb magic. And if you've already learned the essentials, the foundation, the soil of this practice, how can you go further? So that's what we're going to cover this week. Lots of material. Let's get to it. First and foremost, what is herb magic? For me, this is the art and craft of working transformation with the aid of our plant spirit allies. So it implies that change is needed somewhere. Somewhere, something is happening in a way that we don't prefer it, or that's not working for us, or that's maybe malefic or baneful or disharmonious or diseased. And we want to change that. We want to cause transformation. So that idea is that we align our will, our intent to change, to our relationship with the plant spirits, to onboard their power, their wisdom, their perspective to make this change happen. I also like to think of magic in general, even outside of this very specifically herb magic presentation, as working to harmonize what has become disharmonious, right? Ultimately, the work as I see it, the work as I practice is about cultivating deeper and deeper states of harmony. By doing that on an individual level, we do it on a collective level. And as we do it on a collective level, we nudge the entirety of the cosmos deeper and deeper into states of harmony, beauty, rightness. And so when we perceive disharmony, in our lives, we can do these actions of herb magic to help create harmony where there is none. The definitions of magic will differ pretty dramatically depending on who you ask, and also between traditions. You know, if we talk about folks practicing ceremonial or high magic versus folks practicing folk magic or cunning work, or more sorcerous arts, the definitions are going to vary widely because the perspective of what magic is, how it should be done, and even why it works is going to be different. And they're all valid. They can all be true at the same time. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not one of these is right and all the other ones are wrong. No, we're all playing with the same power. We're all living in the same universe. We're all connected. And so all of them can be right at the same time, which is a challenge to the way that we're sort of conditioned to think in the modern world. But that is the case. So having a little bit of an understanding of what herbal magic is and what magic is in general helps us understand that when we are doing magic in the context of herb magic, it is, of course, centering or in some way working with the plant spirits, our plant spirit allies, that we are aligning our will, our power, our magic to that of our plant spirit allies. So there is our power, the power of the plants, and the goal itself, creating one level of a triune force of magic, which we can work to create change. The next question that often comes up in these conversations is, how does it work? We understand what it is now. So what are the inner mechanisms of herb magic in specific? Again, I only want to talk about that because that's my area of practice. And if we start getting into inner mechanics of all magic, this is going to be a 24-hour long class. So how does herb magic work? First of all, and probably most importantly, it onboards the spiritual support of our plant spirit allies. That herb, part of herb magic, is crucial. The idea here is that we are not doing our magic alone. Rather, we are doing our magic from a place of spiritual relationships, sorcerous relationships. So the plant spirits, in one way or another, are being called into the work to aid their magic to ours, to lend their magic to our own magic. The reason why this works is because all of the worlds are connected. That what we do in our world has effect in all the worlds. And because the plant spirits are very multifaceted, multi-layer beings that are connected to various places, times, when we onboard them, we're extending the reach, the influence of our magic, so that instead of our magic just happening right here, right now, it actually extends out into the infinite directions and into the various planes of reality through the support of our plant spirits, who are very much like living liminal points, living bridges between the worlds. The plants have power, and we also have power. This is something that we don't see discussed very often in classes like this, in discussions like this. We always see people giving their power away, like, oh, the herb has all the power and the magic, the gemstone, the deity, the planet, whatever. But actually, the real power happens from a foundation of relationship. It is the fact that we are powerful and the plants are powerful, and that us coming together creates a magic greater than the sum of its parts, of why sorceress arts and sorceress magics are so very effective. The last point that I would like to make here about how this magic works, why when we do these rituals, these acts of magic on small, simple scales or grandiose scales, pick your poison, is that all seeds sown lead to fruits grown, right? That we cannot do ritual actions without repercussion. We cannot pray to the plant spirits or align to them or journey with them without something happening. These seeds that are sown in properly organized ritual, that ritual acting like the fertile soil, the magic itself acting like a seed, will always lead to some kind of fruition, right? So it's very effective because the nature of the universe is that which is planted will grow when the environment, of course, is supportive, which is helped by the fact that our plant spirits know what the hell they're doing. They know what they're talking about. So a bit about what herb magic is, a bit about how it works, what are some of the inner mechanisms. Sort of a sidebar aspect to that I'd like to discuss, because people ask me a lot, more than I ever thought they would, is why do I consistently use this term sorcery? People have asked me, do you consider yourself a witch, a green witch? Do you consider yourself a magician, a wizard, whatever, all these labels. I continually, on a personal level, go back to this term sorcerer. I'm more comfortable with it. It makes more sense to me, and it's a term that historically lines up to the kind of work that I do and consistently is supported by my plant spirit allies and their protectors. So why sorcery? None of the other, especially contemporary formats of magic, imply a base of animism, right? So we can talk about witchcraft, for example, even people who follow these various extant forms of green witchcraft, and understand that those folks are not necessarily animist. In fact, in my personal experience, most of them are not, even the ones who say they are. So these are folks who will, share a spell or a charm or a ritual where we see language like, you can use this herb for this magical goal, or this herb is good for this kind of spell. This is language that shows us that the individual is not an animist and is not in an animistic relationship with the plant or the herb that they are calling into their herbal spell, their herbal charm. Sorcery is about relationships, and it is about relationships between persons. So most of the pop sorcery that we know comes out of Hollywood, and it's the sorcerer in some kind of blood bond or cosmic bond with some spirit or demon, period, right? The idea here is that the sorcerer, a person, is in a relationship, a working relationship with the demon or the spirit, a person. And when we allow that concept to trickle into our herbal magic, we find that sometimes terms like witch fall short. They don't really describe the fact that the relationship between practitioner and ally is where the power comes from, right? It's not the practitioner alone. It is not the ally alone. It is the relationship itself. It's the connection that bridges the world and calls forth or invokes a great deal of magical and medicinal power when we're talking about plants. So sorcery, because this is not a process of using an herb or what an herb is good for, it's not reductionist, it's not allopathic, but it's a process of hard-won allyships and relationships of trust and power and potential between practitioner and ally. This is a sorcery for me, again, lots of various interpretations of this, but a lot of people practicing sorcery with a capital S, not plant-specific sorcery, I think would agree that this practice is a spiritual path in and of itself. Whereas somebody who is not aligned to a craft tradition could easily open up a book of spells, an herbal spell, an herbal charm, and say, oh, the book says this herb is good for or can be used for this thing, and I'm going to do that. And that event is insular, right? It's kind of happening in a vacuum. For sorceress arts, that's not possible. There's no way to pluck a magical act in, do it and then let it go and go back to status quo. These relationships are always happening, always being cultivated. We're always learning and engaging and being mentored by our spiritual allies. They are not tools that we call on just when things get tough, as we see in a lot of reductionist magical presentations. These relationships are always working acts of magic. It's always happening. The ritual is on, always. And so if you've spent any amount of time here, that aligns pretty well to what I do and how I like to think. So what are some of the applications and possibilities of herb magic when practiced through this perspective? That's an easy answer. Anything is possible. Part of this work is destroying the falsely applied boundary that separates magic and medicine, that separates internal from external, that separates personal from cosmic. We understand that when we work with our plant allies from these perspectives and in these ways, that the magic can get into any spot. It can get into anywhere internal. It can get into anywhere external. It can get dense. It can get subtle. There's no limit. And similarly, sometimes an easier way to understand this is that when we talk about spiritual herbalism, meaning herbalism practiced from a spirited place, seeing the spirit of the plants in a sorcerous way, we quickly come to understand that herbal medicine is also not limited to the physical, to the tissue-based, that we can take herbal medicine to affect situations outside of ourselves, narratives, patterns, events, time frames, timelines. The boundaries that have been erected by pop and contemporary styles of reductionist magic are not real. They never have been real. This has never been how we've approached magic. This idea that magic goes in this box and medicine goes in this box, internal is here, cosmic is here. None of that's real. And so when we do these kinds of practices, we find very quickly that those boundaries go away, and suddenly we feel the sense of infinite possibility. We find the sense that anything is possible and that this can be applied in any direction that we can come up with. So if you're excited about that, you might be wondering, how do we learn and how do we learn well? Well, you've got a lot of options, some better than others, but all of them important. For me, in this work, accessibility is really important. It's important for me that folks, regardless of their ability to access the internet or have a good library where they live or have Amazon or have money to spend on things like education, can still learn, because this is really important stuff. So hopefully I can give you some ideas on how to learn here that are both quality and accessible, right? Which is really important. So first, books. There are a lot of books out there. I've written two myself, which I like and I would love for you to read. But there are lots of books out there. You can explore my YouTube channel. I do book reviews all the time. And books are great because they're a one-time purchase. You can get them cheaper digitally sometimes, and they're there for you all the time, and you can go back through over and over again. Again, if you have access to a library, you can get books for free sometimes, which is really great. So don't overlook books. Lots of people who have written books have written from years and years of experience. The caveat is that just because somebody wrote a book doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. It doesn't mean that they've done the work, right? It's very easy to put information together and put it out there, especially in the age of AI. So vet the author, make sure they're walking the talk. But books are fantastic. I love them. I'm a huge book nerd. I have shelves and shelves of books around me, piles of books at all times. I'm always reading. It's important. Second would be, in my opinion, the best way to learn, and that is through teachers or mentors if you have access. And this can be more accessible than you think. There are a lot of people who are so passionate about their work with the plant spirits, plant spirit work, spiritual herbalism, green magic, green sorcery, that they can't not talk about this stuff, myself included. That lots of people put really good content out on YouTube, for example, or in a blog, or a podcast. Free. Get lots of stuff for free. I've got well over 100 free classes on my YouTube channel that I think if somebody went through them in the right way and really absorbed it, could probably get all of it. It's not as pretty as some of the advanced stuff that we do, but it's all there, piecemeal. If you find a teacher that you resonate with through a book or a seminar or whatever, you might be surprised at how easy they are to reach out to. It's funny how many times I've reached out to various authors to do interviews for my book reviews and been like, this person has got a lot on their plate. And like 20 minutes later, they reply to the email, yeah, let's do it. Love to talk to you. So a lot of these teachers are accessible and make themselves accessible. We should respect their time, make sure that we're not asking them to do the work for us or asking them to put their life on hold to cater to us, especially if they've already put all the information out there. But you can ask questions, and most of them would love to answer your questions. That's why they're nerdy about what they do. So YouTube, blogs, local people, very accessible, can be very low to no cost. Classes and workshops, whether that's virtually online, that you can access from your home or a library or in somewhere where you are local, or festivals. There's always people teaching such cool classes. And I love a class. I love a workshop because there's a quickening that when you're with other people where the learning is being facilitated, you really get a bite into it hard. You're not left to your own devices. You kind of have somebody guide you through it. And sometimes there's supplies involved and you get a craft or make or experience. There's some organoleptic thing that happens. So I love a class. I love a workshop. One of the good things that came out of the whole COVID drama is, of course, that we figured out how to do more of this, right? More digital, more stuff online. So maybe silver lining a little bit there. Experimentation. A lot of people become armchair plant sorcerers, and it doesn't work. So when you read the book, when you take the class, when you watch the videos, go play, go experiment, see how it feels, see how it sits in your body, see how you would change it, see how your relationships with the plants inspire an adjustment to the work. We have to get our hands dirty. I would say there should always be a little soil under your fingernails, right? Meaning that we're out doing the work, whether that's in the safety and comfort of our own living room or outside in wild places, whatever the situation is for you. The power is in the doing, not the thinking. This is an old truth in many of our pagan traditions, that it is how we show up the ritual of things that's important, not so much the thought of them. Last but not least, as we advance in the work, we cultivate deep personal relationships with plant spirits. And those plant spirits, some become our familiars and our teachers, our mentors, protectors, guardians, and guides. And they will find ways to inspire us. Be sure of that. They will bring us dreams and synchronicities. They will open doors and shine lights on things for us so that we can continue a journey in a way that has been very much tailored to who we are as individual people. Pretty cool, right? So don't overlook the most important source of learning about plants, which is the plants themselves. Once you've done all that and played with all of that, you may wonder, how do I advance in the work, right? A lot of people have been doing this for a long time and they're like, now what? What's next? To advance in the practice of herb magic, to go deeper, you can deepen your understanding of bioregional plants. Who shows up when and where you are? These are plants that have a magic that is already deeply attuned to your own. You share the same climate, you share the same soil, you're in proximity to them. Maybe you're sharing space with them, they're sharing space with you. So if you are one of those people who gets into herb magic, but all of your herbs come from some online shop or some herb shop, that's great. But it's time to move past that. Get out of the jar, right? And get into who's showing up in your garden, who's showing up in the sidewalks and the parks around you. These are herbs that are not only so sustainable and so much more ethical to source because you get to be in control of the whole process. But they're plants that they're there. They're showing up. They're saying, hey, we share space. Let's also share some magic and medicine. So get to know those plants. You could dedicate more time, more energy, more love to cultivating personal relationships with plant spirits. Do the journey works. We have our facilitated guided journey works that we do over on my Patreon. Every lunar cycle, we sit with a different plant. We spend 29, 30 days getting into deep connection with one plant, and then you are in relationship with that plant forever. The link is there. It's strong, right? We nourish it. So do that work. And we can also consider getting into relationship with the guardians of the plant spirit, the good folk, the gentry, the fae, various deities, gods and heroes, saints and ancestors who have been doing this work. Getting into relationship with them can help us deepen as well. And of course, exploring the sorceress traditions outside of plant spirit work, looking at the various cunning and peller and sorceress traditions of whatever cultures you're attached to or working from. Even if they're not talking about plants, the framework very often can be used to hang some of our plant work on, right? To help fill in some of the gaps. So that is all there. Explore wildly. It only helps to deepen your practice and to increase your knowledge and to connect you with other people so that you can learn from each other. So as I mentioned earlier, I wrote a couple books. There's links to those down below if you're interested. Lots of good stuff on YouTube from lots of really fantastic teachers. If you want access to the advanced classes, the courses, the lunar cycle, plant spirit journeys, all that, I've got a link for you down below. And with that, thank you so much for being here, for supporting my work, and for sharing in this journey with me. I'll see you next time.